taking this opportunity to bring education in a combination with musical theater, and that's why I'm glad you guys are here to be a part of our class. Now, there are a few rules in my class, and we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk a little bit about what is the purpose of today. Today is to help you understand what it is like to have a conflict management style, and it's also to give you a little bit of a perspective on what it's like to be someone else and have their style. So what I'd like you to do is, I'm sure Casey was very good and told you all to put away your phones, but would you pull out your smartphone for a second? I'm sure it's handy. Just my cat. So.
I only have a pager.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so what's interesting about, and I heard this week when I was in my car, I was listening to National Public Radio, and it was interesting the way people look at our location and our perspective. What is it that we look at compared to other people? And if you have a smartphone, you have a little map on one of your icons, and go ahead and touch that and open it up. And as you can see, it spots where you are. If it doesn't spot where you are, you hit the little arrow down here, and it totally finds you at the amazing Chance Theater. Something you should bookmark, of course. What's interesting about this, and the gentleman that was being interviewed on NPR said he is a historian where it comes to maps. What happens now when we look at a map is we only look at it from our perspective. Used to be, when you were in elementary school or someplace like that, you would have a giant map of the world, and it would be looking from the heavens, if you will. And the problem with that is we used to look from the heavens, and now we only tend to look from our own point of view. So one of the reasons we're doing this today is to help you understand and navigate other people's conflict styles and their points of view as well. Okay, now the rules are you can't have your cell phone on, so turn it off, make it buzz, do whatever it takes, because we don't want it to disturb us. There are a few rules in the class, as you can see up here. My one big rule is never do anything to lessen the experience for yourself or anybody else in the classroom. And by the way, that includes me, okay? So one of the things that makes me really irritated is people who come late. And your punishment for coming late will be that you will say, you need to have your cell phones off because when they turn on, they really bother people. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about conflict styles. First of all, you've all filled this out. I tried to get you to sit in your different groups. Hopefully that will work out for you. Because people like themselves. And so you're sitting with people who are similar to you. Excuse me, what are you doing?
Can we get my
You're
seat?
late. You're late.
Sorry.
No.
I'm just gonna...
You know what the rule is, latecomers sing. So what I'd like you, first of all, would you come closer? Because I don't even recognize you. Let's see. What's your name?
Steve Josephson.
Oh, you're here, Steve. Well, God, I don't remember you being in my class at all.
I...
Come on down. Steve's going to sing his own.
If someone stood up, in a crowd and he raised his voice way out loud and he waved his arm and he shook his leg, you'd notice him. If someone in a movie show yelled, "Fire!" from the second row, "This whole place is a powder keg!" you'd notice him. And even without clucking like a hen, everyone gets noticed now and then. Unless, of course, that personage should be invisible, inconsequential, me.
You can tell right here that he is the perfect accommodator. Is he not the perfect accommodator? Immediately ready to give up anything, totally willing to say that he's invisible. That's really sometimes what the take is on accommodators. Keep going.
Cellophane, Mr. Cellophane, should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you
Accommodator to go out to dinner with a large group of people. Even though the Accommodator wants one kind of food, they will go ahead and acquiesce to whatever the group wants, and they'll have a good time doing it. That's accommodation for you. Go ahead.
And suppose you was a little cat, yeah, residing in a person's flat who fed you fish and scratched your ear. You'd notice him. Now suppose you was a woman wed and sleeping in a double bed beside one man for 7 years. You'd notice him. A human being's made of more than air. With all that bulk, you're bound to see him there. Unless, of course, that human next to you is unimpressive, undistinguished. You know who.
Oh, next slide, please. There we go. Let's so you can see what it says about you. It's nice to be nice. That's so you. You are, you were, you're wrong about something, you don't care, you're going to go ahead. Can you see how this is you?
Oh.
Yeah. Next slide, please. Good. You can see right here. Whoops. That you're all thumbs up, aren't you? And everything about you, conflict is disastrous, and so you're always going to heal. Isn't that the way you like to work?
It's a lot easier that way.
It is. So finish the song for me. I'm sure.
Should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you can look right through me, walk right by me, and never know I'm there. I tell you, Cellophane, Mr. Cellophane, should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you can look right through me, walk right by me, and never know I'm there, never even know I'm there. Oh, I really hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
No, you were just. Thank you. That's all. And I think I'd like you to stay on stage. Would you mind? Let's put you right over here. No, that actually won't work. Hey, you want it? How about right here? No, come right to that seat. Come on, that's fine. But then the stages are really balanced. You know what? Come sit here with me. Again, give him a hand. All right, so the next we're going to learn about is, hold on, next slide. We're going to talk about collaborating. They're into problem solving. We both win. 2 heads are better than 1. And in order to do that, I will need 3 collaborators from the audience. Now, I put the collaborators up here. Can we have the house up? Is that possible? If not, that's fine. Oh, magic. I love this place. Okay, I have picked a song. The song is Together Wherever We Go. Does anybody know the song that's a collaborator? Okay, good. Then I've got the 2 of you. Grab the little one right there. Yeah, that's collaboration for you. Everybody wants to come on up. Don't worry. We have no expectations here. I mean, I'm going to give you the words of the song right here. Teri will give you a note. You ready? Come on up here. Here you go. This is the words of the song. Okay, it's up here. Come on, move right in the center. That's perfect.
You don't want choreography or anything.
Oh God, no. Do we want choreography?
Yes.
Well,
We'll see what we can do.
that's a big expectation for people out of the house. Okay, go ahead, Taylor. Give one now.
Wherever
we go, whatever we do, we're gonna go through it together. We may not go far, but sure as a star. Wherever we are is together. Wherever I go, I know he goes.
Wherever I go, I know she goes.
No fits, no fights, no feuds, and no egos.
getting together. They started out as strangers. They all figure it out. They spend a lot of time. And this is a really good conflict style if you have time. Hello? Can we pick it back up again?
Through thick and through thin, all out or all in, and whether it's with plays or show.
With you for me and me for you, we'll muddle through whatever we do
Together wherever we go.
Okay, that's excellent. That's excellent. The one thing I would like you to point out is that you really do bring across your point of views. You welcome the differences. You identify main concerns and general options. The whole idea is that when all of you get together, you really do come up with a solution. Hello? Can we continue on? Yeah. Do you know where we are? Yeah. Taylor?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
We all take a bow, including the cow. The business is slow, see and slow. With Richardson and Katie's fair, all we need is someone with prayer. Fire! Fire in the house!
Okay, that is just exactly what's wrong with collaboration. They would be burned to toast right now, right? Because they cannot stop, make a quick on the dime decision. They have to sit there and discuss it. Hello? Continue.
Together,
wherever, together, wherever we go. We go in a group, we tour in a
Group. That's exactly right. You go in a group. That is where you find collaboration, team sports, all the things that you would expect to see out there. That's exactly what happens. So what can happen here but they'll be in a group? The funny thing is, if you want this group to go to dinner, you got to eat dinner before you get together with them because it takes them 10 hours to figure out exactly where to go. Come on now, finish it out, Marty.
We're
We
fine.
go in a group, we tour in a troupe, we land in the soup that we know. The things we do by three, the perfect team, no, this one stays together.
Wherever, together, wherever we go.
Wonderful. Okay, so now that I have such wonderful volunteers up here, would you mind terribly if I ask you to stay on stage? Would those 3 chairs work for you?
Right here?
Yeah, you need to discuss it?
No,
Okay. Better. Who's gonna sit there? Let me know when you're ready. Right? Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, let's switch slides here. Okay, we're going to look for our avoider today. Now, avoiding is a very interesting group because they're the kind of people when they get together and you're going out to a meal, what they'll do is they'll agree to go, but they won't be happy when they're there. So they're a little bit passive aggressive. But the best way to explain this, of course, is through song. So can I have lights up in the house? And here are my beautiful 2 avoiders. Which of the 2 of you would like to get up and do a song? Oh, well, that's true avoiding if I ever saw it. Okay, why don't you come up and sing a song for me?
Oh, no, thanks, I'm hungry.
No, I need you to come up because that's part of the class. You're lessening my experience by not coming up. That's part of the agreement of the class.
You know what? I'm really much more comfortable here. I'm enjoying it. It looks great. I'm good.
Can you help me out with this?
Well, it's your class. I'm sure you know what to do.
Maybe we can help.
All right. Why can't you behave? Why can't you behave?
If a custom-tailored vet asked me out for something wet, if the vet begins to pet, I cry, hooray! But I'm always true to you, darling, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, darling, in my way. I enjoy a tender pass by the boss of Boston, Mass. Though his pass is middle class and not back pay. But I'm always true to you, darling, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, darling, in my way.
Isn't that typical of an avoider? True to you in her fashion. She tells you she's going to be loyal to you, but then all of a sudden she turns around and she's, well, doing other things than being loyal. Continue on.
There's a madman known as Mac, who is planning to attack. If his mad attack means a Cadillac, okay. But I'm always true to you, darling, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, darling, in my way. I've been asked to have a meal with a big tycoon and steal. If the meal includes a deal, except I may. But I'm always true to you, darling, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, darling, in my way.
You know, avoiding can be good, because what it does is, excuse me, if you avoid too much, you'll fail this class. It can be good because it helps you when you get angry to not get into conflict immediately. Are you ready? I think she's good. Have a seat. Go ahead, finish that.
There's an oil man known as Tex, who is keen to give me checks. But his checks, I fear me, that Tex is here to stay. But I'm always true to you, darling, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, darling, in my way.
No. I'd love for you to stay on stage. Would you move over one? And I'm going to put her right here. There you go. Thank you so much. Have a seat. Okay, where are you? Thank you. Okay, well the next thing we're going to look at is compromise.
No, you go in first.
Ladies first.
No, you go. I would get in trouble by her. You know what? Fine. I will explain.
No, I will explain it. I do it better.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
See, now you can see right here, these are the perfect compromisers. Each of them wants to present their point of view, so each of them can have a piece of the pie when they're done. Continue.
Anything you can be, I can be greater. Sooner or later, I'm greater than you.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Yes,
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I can shoot a partridge with a single cartridge.
I can get a sparrow with the bow and arrow.
I can live on bread and cheese.
And only on their
Yeah.
and rats.
Any note you can sing, I can sing higher.
I can sing any note higher than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
You
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Okay, so one of the things that makes compromising work is that each of you brings in something to the pie and each of you gives up something. Let's try for that, okay?
Anything you can buy, I can buy cheaper. I can buy anything cheaper than
50 cents?
20 cents. 20 cents.
Can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Any note you can sing, I can sing softer.
I can sing any note softer than you. And yes, I can.
I can drink my liquor quicker than a flicker.
I can drink it quicker. I can get even sicker.
I can move in any shape.
Without getting caught.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Any note you can sing, I can sing longer.
I can sing any note longer than you. Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you
Yes,
can't.
I can. Yes, I
Okay, part of this is all you have to do is flip a coin and come to the same answer here. Children.
Yes, you can.
Why don't you sit back and go sit, pull that chair in. I'm sorry, you didn't sit, I left it out here. Good, thank you so much. Those are the compromises. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have our avoider. Would you like to say a little bit for us?
Cellophane, Mr. Cellophane, you should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane.
Good. All right. Let's hear from our compromisers.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
You can.
All right. Good. Before we go there again. And a little something from our beautiful collaborators.
Together wherever we go.
So we're going to talk about forcers, and the difference is when you put all of these styles together, what you get is it's the least I can do. Off with their heads. It's the only phrase that always rings true, never gets old. So I say to you, boy, conviction and up with their heads. It's my what will you. Everyone dreads what the Queen may say, and if they don't, well then it's off with their heads. I try to be good, even and fair, but as you see, I'm almost never all quite there. No less oblige, my derriere, sing it!
Your derriere.
Sweet, what I demand, all must adhere. I raise my hand, and all my courtiers up here. And if they don't, or if they won't, loud and clear, it's all with their heads. I don't care what they've done. Off with their heads. It's the first and second rule number one. Once it's begun, oh, it's so much fun. All together, all with their heads. It's a mantra of mine. All with their heads. It's the bottom line. And if they dare stop, then it's off with their heads. Don't need a Congress or a Constitution, for it's a foregone conclusion that everyone has the same solution. Persuade, crusade with a custom made, renewable, doable, unmisconable, stainless steel blade. Off with their heads! It's the least I can do! Off with their heads! It's the only phrase that always rings true. It's off with their heads! Off with their heads! Off with their heads! Mama says, off with their heads. Oh yeah!
I'm a forcer.
Am I a forcer? Really? I'm a forcer?
That's great.
What kind of advice can you give me on this?
I am what I am. I am my own special creation. So come take a look and give me the hook or the ovation. It's my world and I want to have a little pride in my world, and it's not a place I have to hide in. Life's not worth a damn till you can say, hey world, I am what I am.
Okay, I get it. I am what I am. They are what they are, and that should be okay. It is okay. Because as I said at the very beginning, we're all different. We have different styles. Could you give me the next slide, please? There we go. We have all different kinds of styles. We have the competing, collaborating, compromising, and accommodating. And even though there's good and bad about our styles, things we like and don't like, it is the way we approach conflict. So why do we spend time in a classroom learning about these different styles? I mean, it's nice to learn who you are, but what's the purpose? Well, I'd like to tell you part of the purpose is people who learn how to work with other conflict styles are more successful in their relationships, they're more successful in their jobs, and they find themselves to be happy in general, much happier people. So the question is what happens when we all work together? So obviously, as a forcer, not everybody really likes to work with me. The accommodator likes to work with me because he likes to work with everybody. The avoider, if she works with me, she says she's going to do things and she goes away, and then she ends up not doing them. And what's interesting enough is from my perspective, because she doesn't do them, she's the first person I'm going to fire. But I have a compromiser. I kind of like them because they're coming halfway, but it's not very satisfactory for them because I don't really care what they say. Okay? And the collaborators, well, I pretty much walk all over the collaborators, and it's very frustrating for them because they are so, as you said, kumbaya. And so it's difficult for everyone to work together unless they stand back and say, how can we? So when I go to work for an accommodator, it's very frustrating for me because he's just accommodating everything and I'm sitting there going, what do I do now? If I go to work for somebody who's an avoider, she never tells me what to do and I always feel like I'm not doing my job. If I go to work for the compromiser, it's really frustrating for me because I'm out there and I want to be in charge and they're just going, no, I can only take half of what you say. The rest of it's not working. And if I'm working for them, I'm just really frustrated because they just want to get along and I just want to get the job done. What's interesting, in the 1970s, 1980s, Big Blue, IBM, all the companies were about collaboration. Today, most people are about forcing. They want to see that a forcer, the person who can come in, make instant decision, is going to be in charge. And if you wonder what's wrong with Congress these days, take a look at your avoiders and your forces and you'll find out there's no collaborating or compromising going on, if that makes any sense. So this is one of the biggest challenges that we have. So can I have the house lights up? It's not fair to tell you that these different styles, if you wouldn't mind, this is so much like school, isn't it? Taking one and passing it back, I always hated that part of the school. I was always in the back, it took me forever to get my information. Hey, collaborators? Collaborators?
Yes.
Do you mind running up there and handing these out to people in the back row? You want to think about it? Okay. So anybody got one? What I've given you is a paper on different conflict styles. The things that were on the PowerPoint behind you are on the first part of this. But I would like you to go ahead and flip to the inside. So it's not fair to tell you everybody has a different style and the things that frustrate you without giving you the keys to being successful in working with other styles. And the very first one and the most effective one is right on top. It's the very first one and it says, describe your own feelings rather than evaluate others. Come on in. So the idea being is that you want to use I statements. And if you take a look back at the little information we just gave you, there was a lot of you and finger pointing going on which creates that conflict. But if you stop and you use I statements, you're more effective in communication. So for example, it says here, instead of saying you're such a slob, you need to pick up your clothes. Instead you say, I'm frustrated with the way the apartment looks, could you help me pick up the clothes? Because I teach this, I decided to try it in my own home. My son, Cooper, is a sockaholic. He must take off dirty socks and leave them all over my home, and I find that very, very disheartening because everywhere I go it smells like dirty sock in my home. So I decided to give it a shot, and when we came walking in our walkway, I have a beautiful jasmine tree and a lemon tree, and I said to him, doesn't it smell good out here? And he said, yeah, it really smells good. And we walked inside the house where it didn't smell so good. I said, wouldn't it be great? What can we do to make it smell as great inside as outside? So instead of saying you need to pick up your socks, which I've said 1,000 times, we brainstormed together using I statements, and we came up with the fact that I would be the one to make sure my stinky tennis shoes weren't sitting at the doorway, and he would be the one responsible. Because it used to be I would pull my straddle lounger open and the smell of dirty sock inside the crevice there would break up. And I'm happy to say that since we used I statements, we no longer have that problem anymore. And we do have a much better smelling home. So using I statements is probably one of the most effective tools. Another thing you can do is you strive to solve problems rather than control others. So instead of saying, here's what went wrong, you say, what seems to be the problem? And so on. The idea of being genuine rather than manipulative, being empathetic rather than judgmental, these are all things that help you work with a different type of style. So I challenge you, is it possible for you to go out of here and start using I statements? Statements that begin with I. I don't know about you, but have you ever written an angry letter? Usually when you're drunk. Have you ever written an angry letter? And then you've gone back and looked at it the next day. If you look at that letter, it all starts with you. You did this, you did that, you did the parking ticket, you didn't pay attention, blah, blah, blah. If you go back and you re-edit that letter to be with I statements, you will actually find that you get everything you want and the results that you want. And it'll shock you the first time you do it, and then you'll start practicing it more and more, and all of a sudden you're going to find out you're really good at managing other conflict styles. And that you are the kind of person that people look to when they have a problem. And that you can be the kind of person that can give other people clues on how to use I statements. So let me ask you, and my audience out here, do you have any questions first about the conflict styles? Your style, how they look. They did a remarkable job. Now, do you have any questions or do you have any thoughts about the ways to work with people, like using I statements to be effective in communication with others? Has anybody had that experience? Or I know my avoiders aren't going to talk, but how about my collaborators or where are my forcers in the room? Do I have any forcers? Yeah, sitting next to another forcer. Good job. I so know because I am a forcer. So when you had a forcer style, did you have do you find that sometimes you just want to take over and do everything?
Could you sit up straight, please?
Like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, of course, we have a newlywed couple in the room, and that would be Katie's husband. Aww. So here you are in a new relationship. And Katie, what was your style?
I'm an accommodator.
Right. He's a forcer, so
She's
he's
sitting
one
so.
lucky guy.
She's sitting so far away.
Yeah. So you can find out, the other question that people asked me at the beginning was, what happens when you have two styles, like one that's a 10 and a 9, or an 8 and a 7, whatever. The way that works is, in different situations, you use different styles. As a person in charge, when I teach, I'm a complete forcer. As an actor, I prefer collaborative. That happened to be my second style. Because I prefer to stand back and watch everybody else and put it all in the pot and see what ultimately happens. It does make me slower, which is interesting because as a forcer, I want things so quick. But at the end of the day, I do change that style. Did anybody have two styles that were really close in number?
Well,
what was your other style?
That were close.
Avoiding and accommodating.
Ah, well, those do tend to work really well together because as you can see, when you look at assertiveness and cooperativeness, you see avoiding and cooperating, they accommodating just different levels of cooperation. So when you're at home, you know, working with the people that you have to live with for the rest of your life, you probably go a little bit more that way, although some situations probably take you that way. There you go, the forcer. Exactly. Anybody else have two different styles? Okay.
I had avoiding and
Okay, that's pretty typical. You'll find probably, in your job that you avoid being constantly put on the spot. You'd rather just to avoid that conflict, but the collaboration piece is that piece that finally wants to have its voice heard.
I agree with that in one of my jobs. In another one of my jobs, I'm definitely more of like a collaborator. And for the strategies for creating supportive climates, like some of the answers that you're supposed to say, we always say this, like my supervisor and myself, because I'm also like second in command at one of my jobs, we always go, like if there's an issue at one of our gates or anything, the first thing we ask early is, what is the issue? And we go from there.
Right, exactly. And so you're working in that kind of a nature. Great, yeah. What's great is the more you start to understand how this works, the more effective you become, and you don't get sucked into fights you shouldn't have been sucked into in the first place. Does that make sense? So the more you can actually stand back and you laugh because I said like, the gentleman in the corner is a forcer. However, in different environments will allow him to be in different things and take different styles on. But the more you can recognize other people's style, the easier it is to be able to get the final result of what you want in that product. Good, you guys have been great. If you have any questions about this information or the style, well then I'm going to have Taylor sing one more verse and then have our actors tell you their styles and introduce themselves. So Taylor, take it away.
I am what I am, and what I am needs no excuses. I deal my own deck, sometimes the ace, sometimes the deuces. There's one life and there's no return and no deposit. One life
Same thing.
But
Compromise.
there they are.
I'm a collaborating compromise.
That's Laura and Jen.
I'm a forcer and a compromiser.
And we worked really well together. And Steve.
I am an avoider and a forcer.
So perfect. And Taylor, when you took it, what were you?
I'm an avoider accommodator.
Very nice. Give them a hand. They did amazing job. Thank you so much for letting me come here.
Does that make Steve bipolar?
Split personality.
All right.